Steve McQueen, whose work is being celebrated this month by the Film Society of Lincoln Center, is the gold standard for movie tough guys. Stoic, street smart, unfussy, super competent, and absolutely positively not to be fucked with. The consummate man of action. He's the guy every guy secretly wants to be, unassuming but deadly, and always in charge. McQueen's grace isn't the deliberate, premeditated grace of a ballet dancer, but of a footballer spotting an opening and slipping through it for a goal. He's one of the most sheerly pleasurable physical actors in movie history. Even in repose or when performing mundane tasks, he seems charged with energy. The camera loves him, and directors acknowledge this by serving up seemingly obligatory scenes of McQueen donning and divesting himself of his character's uniform, giving viewers a chance to admire his lanky physique and a demeanor that would seem insufferably smug if he weren't a working-class guy playing working-class guys, a peasant prince who earned his royal title. McQueen doesn't join the club, he just visits, always keeping one eye on the exit. This self-willed aura of confidence is the source of my own early admiration for McQueen. He was everything I wasn't, everything almost nobody is, as much of a cinematic demigod as Burt Lancaster, but more human-scaled. Nevertheless, at some point, second thoughts on McQueen took root in my mind and made it tough to admire him uncritically. And at the risk of inviting a flood of angry email from dudes with subject headers along the lines of "Dear McQueen-hating pansy," I'll attempt to explain why. First off, there's only one McQueen film that I think qualifies as more than a curiosity or a diversion: Sam Peckinpah's The Getaway. Adapted from Jim Thompson's novel by future action ace Walter Hill, the movie kicks off with a deer unexpectedly and eerily freeze-framed, as if sensing it's in an unseen hunter's gun sights. The rest of this intricately edited prologue is a subjective montage of hero Doc McCoy going stir-crazy in the joint. Many prison films include this type of sequence and were usually meant to take away nothing more than the hero hates prison and wants to be free. Peckinpah's presentation complicates such a simplistic reading. The whole sequence is a moment out of time, Doc's mind jumping around during a particular moment in the prison's license plate factory, thinking about the grinding routine of prison life, his lame attempts to puncture it by building a model, and his fantasies about his wife Carol, played by Ally McGraw. We're reminded of how often McQueen is envisioned behind bars or in chains, and how differently that image reads here than in his other films. Rather than a man itching for a chance to rejoin society, or a man chafing at isolation and dehumanization and taking pleasure in whatever pitiful facsimiles of love and friendship that prison allows, The Getaway's opening tells us that Doc is not merely a stereotypical maverick loner, but someone so damaged, for whatever reason, that he can't respond to the world in anything resembling a quote-unquote normal way.
Mr. McCoy is no longer wanted in that case.
Part of The Getaway's brute brilliance is the way that it makes McQueen's reluctance, perhaps inability, to show emotion, and his technical inadequacy as an actor into strengths.
Go.
Peckinpah treats McQueen as a piece of kinetic sculpture, seeming to indulge his carefully cultivated facade of impenetrable cool. While hinting at the existential terror that might lurk beneath. The film suggests that for all his lethal ability, Doc is just a dumb animal, like that incomprehending deer. That's a far cry from most of McQueen's other films, which tend to treat him as a grinning god and invite us to worship him. Screenwriter William Goldman's cynical classic, Adventures in the Screen Trade, sets out some basic rules for making a handsome living as a Hollywood writer. Rule number 1 is give the star everything, meaning you have to make his character the toughest, sexiest, most unflappable, wryly funny hombre in recorded history.
Like a fella I once knew in El Paso. One day he just took all his clothes off and jumped in a mess of cactus. I asked him the same question, why?
And?
He said it seemed to be a good idea at the time.
For much of his career, Steve McQueen was that kind of a star. While Goldman was writing one of McQueen's last movies, 1980's Tom Horn, He tried to infuse the title character with a bit of depth and nuance. McQueen nixed all that, telling Goldman, "I don't want to be the guy who learns. I want to be the guy who knows." A shallower attitude toward the craft of acting is tough to imagine. Where did it come from? It could have been the defensive posture of a businessman protecting himself. There were occasions when McQueen strayed outside of his regular persona. For instance, Robert Mulligan's 1965 small-town drama Baby the Rain Must Fall, about an ex-con trying to take care of his wife and daughter, make it as a singer, and manage his hot temper. Also of note, Sam Peckinpah's gentle 1971 rodeo drama Junior Bonner, the box office failure of which led him and McQueen to team up again to make the more conventionally exciting The Getaway. And a 1978 adaptation of Henrik Ibsen's An Enemy of the People, which McQueen did for Union Scale, partly to prove he could really act.
I'm against the age-old lie that the majority is always right.
McQueen's inarguably charismatic screen presence is often praised as a textbook example of minimalism. That seems accurate up to a point. McQueen was nothing if not economical, and in an era where the Oscar for Best Acting in a Lead Role often goes to the person who delivered the most acting.
Are you finished, Mr. Slade?
No, I'm just getting warmed up.
There's something to be said for keeping it simple. Of course, there's simple by choice and simple by necessity, and a pretty appalling percentage of the time, when McQueen is called upon to express anything resembling complex or powerful emotions, he comes up short, or protects himself to keep us from realizing that he doesn't have the chops to really bring it. This sequence from Nevada Smith is a good example. McQueen's character, a half-breed on a mission of revenge, has just torched the family homestead where his mom and dad were tortured and murdered. One expects the hero to communicate feeling something, anything. McQueen just stares blankly, and when he bows his head, with a hand gesture presumably indicating that he's wiping away a tear, it's so non-heartfelt that he might as well be flicking a stray eyelash from his contact lens. Humphrey Bogart could be tough as nails.
There behind the wheel.
Over here, Canino.
But he also had the guts to stretch, and the common sense to do it with material he could master.
Naturally, I can only cover these things from memory.
And when he played opposite women, to my mind, a challenge that separates acting's real men from its overgrown boys, he could play flirtatious, even smitten, confident that because he was Bogart, he would always be read as strong.
The only trouble is we could have had a lot of fun if you weren't a detective.
We still can.
No, not yet. Not until me and Harvey get the rules straightened out.
Rules? In a knife fight? No rules.
Well, if there ain't gonna be any rules, let's get the fight started. Someone count 1, 2, 3, go.
1, 2, 3, go.
Paul Newman, with whom McQueen competed for lead roles and fat paychecks, was likewise able to take chances and be vulnerable.
You're a good housekeeper. You're a good cook. You're a good laundress. What else you good at?
In the present day, Harrison Ford's credentials as an ass-kicking He-Man are beyond reproach, but like Bogart and Newman, he has more to give than McQueen, and is secure enough in his masculinity to give it.
You find this man. You find this man.
McQueen was too cool to show such anguish over a woman, and with a couple of exceptions, including Love with a Proper Stranger opposite Natalie Wood, he rarely played men who were head over heels in love. Although McQueen was a stud off-screen, on-screen he rarely gave women anything, and usually made a point of letting us know that he didn't need them for anything but momentary pleasure. Check out this moment in Bullet where McQueen kisses Jacqueline Bisset, and the director, Peter Yates, shows us the back of his head. A masculine code that insists on always being right and in control, and that withholds affection from women for the sake of seeming cool, is neither real nor useful. That's why, even though McQueen is a terrifically entertaining fantasy object, calling him a great actor, or even a great leading man, strikes me as a bit of a stretch. It seems altogether fitting that McQueen spent a fair part of his screen career behind bars. Over the years, he built himself a lucrative and comfortable on-screen prison, and unlike his characters, he lacked the skill or the will to break out.
I think we can begin. First parole request for Carter Doc McCoy. Legal counsel present.